For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. We are halfway between a regular Scribble and a supersized Scribble this week. And that means nothing to you. It just means I get paid overtime. So here's the deal, everybody. Normally we're 30 minutes of time-wasting fun. We're running a little bit long today. Here's why. Big stories in the news. Rhonda Vincent is the Queen of Bluegrass, was just inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. Huge deal for really any country or bluegrass artist. Yes, there is a difference between country music and bluegrass, but the honor just happened last weekend. This is a long time coming. She was supposed to be inducted last year. Of course, Corona put the, kibosh on pretty much everything in the world. So she finally got inducted, and yes, she actually was literally counting down the days until this was going to happen. So, Rhonda Vincent, the Queen of Bluegrass, is coming up, and sad news, tragic news from the music world. The death of Mary Wilson from the Supremes. She was a legendary music artist and was on the radio with me several years ago. So what we're going to do is we're going to play that clip because it really was a great celebration of her life and career. She talks about her family. She, 8 grandkids at the time. Now, this was going back about 5-6 years, and Mary was just so proud. Now, the interesting thing about the interview is that we were slated to talk for 8 minutes. That happens a lot, right? When we're doing a radio show, different than a podcast, when we're doing a radio show, we are to time. We can't be 10 seconds over in some instances. And so, especially with an artist who's got a busy schedule as well, the expectation is you're on the phone for 10 minutes, we're talking for 8 of it. You have maybe about a minute before we have the icebreaker, the niceties, all that kind of stuff. Well, you'll hear in this segment, when I went to wrap her up, we were at around the 8-minute mark. I went to wrap it up, and she was like, oh, well, we've still got to talk about such and such. Well, here's the deal. That's tough in radio. Right? I can't just go and say, we're going to stop the commercials. Sorry, cut the commercials, and then the next music set. I mean, on a top 40 music show, I can't just go and take out a music set. It's just not allowed. So I was like, all right, let's keep going. And so we cut away, at least on the radio. And the audience actually didn't even really get to hear the last part of the chat. I was sort of disappointed in that. So, to honor the legend, the Supreme Mary Wilson, we've got the entire segment on the podcast for you today. So I hope you excuse us going beyond the 30-minute mark, but we just have to. Now, with Valentine's Day here as well, this is something where, I am known as a cheapskate, right? I'm a best-selling author as a cheapskate. I want to talk about Valentine's Day. I'm happily married, by the way, so I'm not on the prowl, but I have noticed that people are using social media as a dating platform. Has this happened to you? Somebody will message you and ask you if you're single just because there's this weird expectation that you're going to put your marital status or your relationship status on the internet. I haven't done any of that. I didn't put where I went to school. Because even from the beginning, I was hesitant about this whole Facebook thing. So I didn't open up much about my personal life. I'm not even sure that I put my real birth date and things like that. See, now I'm making this admission publicly. They're going to shut me down on Facebook. You know what? There's people doing far worse things than making up a birth date on Facebook. But I was very, very quiet, and I still am very private about my personal life. And so I've noticed that, people will say hi to you and then just cut to the chase right away and ask if you're single on Facebook. Tell me if this has happened to you. Anyway, we got a busy show. That's why it's longer than 30 minutes today. We are kicking things off with the Queen of Bluegrass, Rhonda Vincent, right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
I'm going to take pride in saying I knew her when. Okay, everybody? The Queen of Bluegrass, Rhonda Vincent, is here to do a victory lap of sorts about her induction into the Grand Ole Opry. How's that for an intro, Rhonda Vincent?
I love that, and you know what? I've not heard it called a victory lap, but I am going to use that. It's like I'm going to be doing a lot of victory laps coming up here.
Absolutely. You better catch your breath. Rest up, okay? Don't exert yourself.
Okay. Well, that's true. Man, better think of it more as a relay, maybe, huh?
There you go. Now, see, I said years ago, she's on to something. She's got this. So can I take some credit? Is that okay? Am I allowed to just sort of say, yeah, no?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, please.
All kidding aside, I mean, it's got to be a huge honor for an artist. And this is a long time coming. It was supposed to be last year, and not that anybody was counting the days, but somebody was counting the days.
I was.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
343 days.
I mean, can you sum it up? I mean, what's the feeling?
Well, I mean, I was invited on February the 28th of 2020, thinking I'm going to be inducted on March the 24th of 2020, and then now it's 343 days later before I actually get to be on stage at the Opry again. That's how many days it was since I have been, since I performed on the stage. So I'm thrilled. I know they could have probably just had me come over to the offices and said, okay, you're an official member. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be surrounded by family, friends. People flew in from everywhere, as far as Oregon to Virginia, and I'm so thrilled that they did it the way they did it. Even though I had to wait so very long, it was almost, it's kind of fun to know that it's so unique. It was unique in several respects that it was the longest time they've ever had someone wait that long, and so there were already March 24th, 2020 posters created, which now is the coveted, because they gave me all of those posters. And people are like, no, I want one from the February 6th, 2021, but I want that one from March 24th. So that's kind of unique. And the Opry, as a gift, gave me a framed version of both of the posters. So that's kind of fun. But it's also unique in that it's the very first time they've ever had a brother and sister hold separate Opry memberships. So all of this together, everything about this has been unusual. And I was born on Friday the 13th, so people say my entire life has been unusual. So I think it's just maybe typical now that what's really unusual a lot of the times has become typical for me.
So safe to say it was worth the wait.
It was worth the wait. It was, that's what I told my husband. It's like, hey, I've been invited to be a member of the Grand Ole Opry. That's what I've been waiting for all of these years. So whenever it's official, I don't care. I know that I have the invitation. So it was worth it, and I think it just made it that much more sweeter.
Absolutely. And, you're in the music business. I'm just in broadcasting. But correct me if I'm wrong here. The induction often means more to an artist than winning an award, let's say a Grammy. Like, is that fair to say that the Opry is so steeped in history that this is monumental for an artist?
Yes, most definitely. In fact, I heard, I believe it was Mark Wills describing that. You win an award. It wasn't Mark Wills. It was someone, maybe it was Dirk. But you win that award, and, that's for that time, that moment in time. The Opry is something that you get to revisit over and over, and it's just continuous. I mean, unless you do something silly or crazy and get kicked out of there or suspended. I was reading, I think the only female that ever got suspended was Skeeter Davis, and she got involved in some political thing and got on the Opry and started talking about it. So it's like, this is a lifetime venture. It's not just a fleeting moment or just I've won an award this year. This is years and years. Jeannie Seely has just celebrated her 53rd year as a member of the Grand Ole Opry. And I hope I get to celebrate that many.
We've talked about this before years ago. Now that you call these people your peers, I mean, did you ever think, is that growing up when you're starting out in music, do artists kind of have their eye on the prize being the Opry? Like, take me back to that time when you were just starting out in music.
Well, I don't think there's any way that you could ever imagine that you were even meet any of these people. You know, what are the chances that this is what happened last week? I'm talking to Jeannie Pruitt on her birthday, singing her happy birthday. While I'm talking to Jeannie Pruitt, Jeannie Seeley calls me. While I'm talking to Jeannie Pruitt, Johnny Rodriguez texts me, and then while Johnny Rodriguez is texts me, next Dierks Bentley texts me. And there's no way that you could ever comprehend that. I never dreamed I would ever get to meet these people, get to meet Dolly Parton, let alone to ever get to sing with them, perform with them. So take that even way beyond that and say, okay, I get to be a Grand Ole Opry member just like Jeannie Seeley and all of these people in the past. But I never dreamed, growing up in a musical family, was a way of life. It's just what we did. So I never dreamed, you as you get older, you hope that could be a possibility.
So you're standing up there, you're looking out at your peers, we'll call them friends now. What's going on? What's in your mind? Is it surreal? You're standing up there looking out at the crowd.
Soak in every minute, enjoy it, take a breath, and just to take a second to enjoy it.
Because quite honestly, I mean, what's the likelihood you're going to have another moment like that in your lifetime?
It's a once in a lifetime experience. So I was looking out, and I was really so very comfortable. I was afraid I would be so nervous. And I mainly, I was worried that once I was inducted, that I would be so emotional that I couldn't sing. And I think because Dierks Bentley was so calming and so nice that it just gave me a bit of more of an assurance that this is where I belong and I am actually a member, and so just stand up here and sing now.
And so what does this mean for you now then? Do you get like special parking? I mean, what happens?
The only thing they really asked me was what kind of cake I liked, or what flavor of cake, and I told them that I have not been given any other, there's no restrictions or any expectations or anything like that. So I'm not sure. I know I hope that I get to perform on the Grand Ole Opry more. Maybe that's what that means. I don't know for sure.
Absolutely. So let's talk now present day then, going forward. I mean, what are you working on? I mean, where do you go from here?
Actually, I have been working on a new project. It was supposed to have been released last year. And this is probably, project probably will have been, I've worked on it more than probably any other because there's been so much time in between. Like, I was going to have it done last March, and then it's like, well, let's keep working on it. And I've cut another song. I've changed things up. So it's allowed me to really perfect this project. I'm so proud of it. So that I'm planning to get released as soon as possible.
And I'm going to call you back when it's released.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
Oh, I mean, everybody can keep up to date, I guess, on your website and social media pages, right?
Absolutely. I'm at RhondaVincent.com, so I hope that you'll join me there. And there's a message board on there. I hope you'll communicate in that manner. There's people make up these fake accounts, and they use my picture, and they pretend to be me, and they're like ask people for money, and they're just kind of a scam. So beware of that. If you go to RhondaVincent.com, you can send me a message there. You'll find all of where we're going to be, any of our merchandise. So yes, RhondaVincent.com, and I hope to see you there.
And on your Twitter, it's your verified account because you are looking glamorously exhausted. Is that a good way to put it?
Yes, that's right. When I woke up, I seriously said to myself, was that a dream? Was this weekend one of those fairy tale dreams and it really didn't happen? But it's like, I went in and I found that Opry statue. It's like, it was real. It was real.
This is like the ultimate sugar high that you don't want to end.
I love it. I love the way you said that. Yes, it is.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm excited for you. This is such a big deal, and you're officially part of the Grand Ole Opry family. So congrats. What an honor.
Thank you. You know what? Now, Jeannie Seeley, she corrected me when I said, Jeannie Seeley, Grand Ole Opry star. She said, no, I am now your Opry sister. And so how awesome to have Opry sisters and brothers. It really is a family. They welcome you. I received flowers from Carrie Underwood, from Ricky Skaggs, the Whites, and T. Graham Brown, so many others. So it really is. It's a family affair, and it's just such a fun experience. And to get to feel loved and welcomed by everyone.
Oh, my God. With such a big family, Christmas is going to cost you a fortune now. You realize that, right?
Oh, wow. I never thought of that. You are so right.
Always thinking ahead. Always thinking ahead.
That's right.
Well, again, one more time, congratulations, Rhonda Vincent. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure. I'll talk to you when I get the new project done.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you then.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. We have talked about dating apps and relationships and all that stuff when it comes to meeting new people through technology. I haven't done the app thing because, my husband would kill me, but that's a big part of it, I guess. But for me, I'm a talker, so if I were to be on there, I don't know, unless we're video chatting, and it's not even about seeing the person, right? People want to video chat to make sure that they're not being catfished, right? They want to make sure that it's the person, whose profile that they saw. For me, I'm just a talker. I have no interest in texting back and forth to get to know you. That is just not my thing. And so I would actually probably end up turning off a lot of people because I would be insistent, where it's just give me your phone, let's just talk. Let's just cut the crap. I have no interest in dragging out what could be a 2-minute conversation by speaking, dragging that out 2 hours, because I'm going to sit there, I'm going to be clutching my phone, I'm going to be waiting for you to reply, you're going to be doing something else for 5-10 minutes, and then I'm just going to get pissed off, and then I'm going to be mad that it took you so long to write back, and then I'll show you, and then I'll wait a half hour to write back, and I'm already, feeling vindictive, and our relationship is doomed from that point. But anyway, so we had a discussion here about people using social media as a dating platform. So I'm not talking dating apps. I'm talking about just scrolling through, Facebook or Twitter or an Instagram as well. And I'm interested in the people who are very, very upfront that. And again, I don't spend much time on social media, but I notice this on Instagram quite a bit, is, so your name is Bob, and then it's dog daddy, husband to, and then at so-and-so, the person's name. And I don't understand why people do that. Now, again, it could be because, there's so many people who have messaged me on social media right away. And I always figure it's because, I'm on the radio, I'm an author, right? I'm in the newspaper, I'm, and I'll say, oh, hi, I'm good, how are you? And they'll write back, good, are you single? And it's whoa, cut to the chase, just here, why don't you get what you're really after here? And I don't know, I just found that weird. To me, that would be like going up to somebody in a grocery store, right? You just happen to casually chit-chat, and then the second or third thing you ask them is, are you single? I don't think that people do that. Maybe, again, I don't get out much, and I also don't spend much time on social medias, but I've just been on the receiving end of something like that. So to me, I find it very sad, because we had, do I mention the platform or not? Because I don't know. I'll maintain this person's privacy. But basically, their profile says, so it's got their name, and then the profile description or bio, whatever you call it, says, I'm looking for a serious relationship and friendship. Who is interested? Hit me up. To me, that's very sad. Now, I realize that this person is maybe hopeful that someone will go and say, hey, he seems like a nice guy, I'd like to meet him. But I guess there's just sort of this desperation where you want somebody that badly. And so when I say desperation, I'm not meaning that as an insult. What I'm saying is find that strength in yourself that you don't need somebody, that you're happy being on your own. Quite honestly, let me tell you, I was single for a good 30-some years. I mean, obviously I was single when I was 2-3 years old, but for a good 34 years of my life, I was on my own. I was alone. My friend was me. When I was a teenager or whatever, I had I played with Lego when I was 18, and I just sort of found that comfort in being alone, being by myself. Now I do have a friend who, when he's single and he was in a relationship for 7 years, he would get hugely depressed if he was at home 2 nights a week. Now, this is, of course, before Corona stuff. He just got depressed. If he couldn't be out there being social and sort of having this distraction, coincidentally, he was a psychology major in school, so I'm surprised that he couldn't see through, what he was putting himself in. Anyway, so for me, I was always on my own. I was always a loner. I was fine. And that going back to when the Corona shutdown started last year, and everybody's oh my God, I'm at home. Well, I'm a homebody anyway, so for me, it hasn't bothered me. I'm okay with that. So for this person who's just wanting friendship and somebody to love me, I don't know. I just feel that there's something sad about that you publicly put that out there as though, hey, I'm available. I want somebody, hit me up. Tell me that you are interested in talking to me or getting to know me. And to me, I feel like that's somebody who would be a genuinely nice person. I feel like they would probably be a really good friend. But again, there's just this whole thing when it comes to social media where you have this, you're sizing up the person. So let's say that you message this guy, right? Or you add him as a friend or whatever it is. He followed us on a social media platform. That's how I know who this is. And people sort of have that limit of, okay, well, if it's not going to be relationship and you're not going to be the one, then it's nothing. And I feel that you would be losing out on so many really, really great friendships because you've got to be open-minded. Yes, I realize that and again, I'm using the word desperate. I realize that you're desperately single and wanting somebody in your life, but I hope that you would accept a friendship with somebody if they're just not your soulmate, because so many people are quick to go and decide in that first date, maybe even that first 10 minutes, maybe in that first one night, if you don't feel that it is, and I don't know that that's a fair thing to do. And I've always been hearing, I wasn't planning on making this a full-on dating segment, but I guess I will now. To me, I've never found it interesting when somebody had asked me back in the day, when I was in my 20s, mid-20s, what have you, about going on a date. I always said I've never gone on a date with anybody. I always just said we're hanging out. And yes, I would go for dinner with people, or I would I don't think I ever went to a movie, or we'd go for a walk, or we'd go to their place. I was living with my parents, so I wasn't having people over to the basement. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that for me, a date puts too much of an expectation on it. That just makes me uncomfortable. And so for me, what I would do is I would say, well, let's go for a walk where we're not sitting face to face, practically interviewing each other, because that's really what it is. If a dinner date is your first meeting or your first interaction, it's so intense. Think about it when you watch I'm not going to compare real life dating to The Bachelor or Bachelorette, but that's when the most serious conversations happen, and that just drives me insane, especially on a show like The Bachelor, where this is your first hour with the person, your one-on-one time, you guys are just getting the opportunity to get to know each other, and suddenly the first thing out of your mouth is, my mom has cancer, my dad committed suicide. Slow down. I would want to know what makes you a fun person. Tell me the silliest thing you've done, or let's play truth or dare, but not in the sexual way, which tends to happen on that show. Let's play truth or dare where it ends up saying, I bet you can't run around the block in a minute and a half, or I bet you can't climb up that tree, or I bet, just those stupid things. And maybe I'm a creative, so I kind of find that sort of thing interesting, but yeah. So this whole thing about social media where it's just Facebook has, and I guess it has become a dating platform now. Somebody told me that there's a dating app feature to Facebook now. And I don't know. And it's so bizarre to me because you think that there are so many ways to meet people. Yes, you can be out in public. It could be a coworker, it could be a school, a classmate, right? It could be whatever. And with social media, I mean, you cast that net now where you really could get anybody in any country. And, look, for me, it was through the radio show. I meet a guy from Brazil through a radio show, emailing back and forth. And I think we talked about that right around Christmas on the podcast. And it was just general conversation. Like I said, I was happily single. This was not, this is just another radio listener that I recognize the name after a while. The emails get a little bit more frequent. Okay, great. And now we start to know each other, and there you go. And look what happens next, right? So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. So putting in your actual social media bio or tagline or whatever it's called, I'm looking for a serious relationship and friendship. Who is interested? Hit me up. Seems charming. I know it does. But I just feel sad for that person who has to sort of publicly put it out there. I'm alone. I want somebody. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
All right, well, Mary Wilson is a legendary singer, best-selling author, motivational speaker, businesswoman, former U.S. cultural ambassador, wife, mother, grandmother. Is there anything that she doesn't do, folks? Well, we're about to find out. She's joining us on the line right now. Hi, Mary.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
It's very hot here in Vegas. It's 112 degrees.
Oh, wow. And I have to say, in the 8 years that we've been doing this show, I think that's the longest introduction I've ever given somebody. You have a lot of hats that you wear, don't you?
And that's just to keep it exciting, that's all.
Well, that's what I want to ask. I mean, you've been in the music industry for quite some time. Most people know you from the Supremes. Let's talk about that longevity, not only in music, but as I said, best-selling author and motivational speaker. How did one lead into another, lead into another, lead into another?
People are so excited about entertainers and performers and politicians, and I guess it all does lead one into another because they figure, if you're an entertainer, then you got a huge audience, and so then that leads you into other things that help them sell their product or move their product or talk about their product. I've been pretty fortunate to land in some pretty exciting ventures because of that.
Now, if I were to put you on the spot here, of all of those roles, which is your favorite? Is it even possible to pinpoint a favorite?
Well, my grandchildren, my family are always first.
Right.
For sure. And right now I'm pretty proud to say I have 8 grandchildren, so that's pretty exciting. But I still, being on stage is something that I totally love and adore, and I don't think I could live without that.
Yeah, and I should point out, so 8 grandchildren, and you are 26 years old. That is impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think I'm more like 70.
Well, you know what? You still have the energy, and that's really what matters. Which again sort of leads into my next question. Then is how do you find the energy to do so much and to keep going day after day?
Well, I think it's like most things.
if you enjoy yourself, you want to do it all the time. And that's kind of the way I am. I was very fortunate, to have been in the Supreme since I was, 13, 14 years old. And, to find what you like to do in life at that young of an age is just kind of beautiful. Why would you want to do anything different?
Yeah. And I mean, what I love though is that you're still making music after all this time. So really, what is the secret, or how did you anyway find longevity in the music industry? Because we see that there's these one-hit wonders all the time, and music has really changed over the past few decades. So what's the secret for you? How have you had such great success in music for so long?
Well, the recording situation has not been as lucrative as it used to be because the music business has changed so very much. But the one good thing about that is that people still like to hear that music all over the world, and that's kind of what I really like doing. Is I like traveling, I like singing all the music all over the world, and as long as people enjoy the music, then I will be there performing it.
Yeah, for sure. So the music industry, as you mentioned, has changed. More so for the good, more so for the bad in this day and age?
It's hard to say good or bad. I don't like to kind of put it that way because obviously for the people who are still stuck, the rap is great.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But then it's just not the same as it was when we were recording back in the 60s. It totally has changed. I mean, it's a different business altogether. On one hand, it's great. On the other hand, there are some things that have changed. And if you're lucky, then you can go and sort of ride the tide and find your best way of doing things in the market today.
I guess one thing from the 60s that was renewed in the music industry is social media. I mean, that plays a huge role. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, music really could suck. I mean, a song could be really bad, but your social media presence has a huge role in how many people download it, right? Because now there's YouTube with videos. So social media has really played a huge role in the music industry. A lot of artists, though, a lot of legendary artists from back in the day find it to be great because their music can live on, whereas newer artists might see it as a bit of a threat because they're not getting paid necessarily when people are downloading music. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's one of those things where it is a new business, and the social media has kind of taken front runner space in terms of being marketing, for marketing and all. And we don't have the same type of things as we had in the past, but yet and still, it's a great movement. I mean, you can make your career go as fast as you want it today with the social media. You don't have to have as much talent, or you can have whatever you want, but the social media is very, very important for getting people to where they want to be today.
What's one lesson that you learned in the music industry, hopefully that's still relevant today, that you would pass on to somebody who's maybe either just branching into music or wants to get into the music industry?
Well, first, I guess people do have to understand that it is a business, and you gotta just realize that, because a lot of people think all you have to do is just get in there and have a great voice or can play an instrument well. But the thing is, you've got to really enjoy it because it's hard work. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the main things I like to tell people who are starting out. Make sure you enjoy it because it's not easy.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I know you enjoy is the charitable aspect of your life. I mean, there's so many great causes that you're associated with. I don't know that we'll have time to talk about all of them, but if you could pinpoint maybe one or two causes that you're now associated with that are close to your heart, what would they be?
Well, probably the main thing is I do a lot of charity work for children, and that's very close to my heart. And, I just dropped my key. I just dropped my key on the floor here. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But, yeah, charity for children is probably my favorite. Then I do a lot of work with the State Department, which is something else I enjoy doing a lot.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. And I know your website has a whole bunch of information, the latest news about your appearances, performances. So what's your website address for everybody?
Yeah, right. It's, well, I keep it simple because I'm not that savvy online, and that is marywilson.com.
Wow, how did you come up with that? That's clever. Well, the legendary Mary Wilson, thank you so much for joining us today, and it was great chatting with you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, well, don't forget, this is the 50th anniversary of our first #1 million-selling record, Where Did Our Love Go?
Oh, well, let's talk about that then. Let's talk about that song then. You know, we've got a few more minutes. Let's do it. Give me the lowdown about how that song came about, and of course it's, you know, such a great hit still today.
Right. Well, it is one of those songs that Holland Dozier Holland of Motown Records produced for us, and it was as I said, our first #1 million-selling record, of which we had 5 consecutive #1s. So that was quite a treat. And the most important thing is that we had the opportunity to work at Motown Records with Brian and Eddie Holland and Lamont Dozier, who were our producers, and gave us those 10 million-selling records.
When you're recording a song like that, or when you're just starting out working on the song, do you have an idea that it's going to be a big hit? Like, is there something that maybe tells you, okay, this one's really going to go big?
I think that comes more from the producers and the writers. They have a better idea of what can be a hit. I don't think that we had an idea because we actually didn't even like the first hit.
Really?
We didn't like it at all. So I guess you could say we didn't have the eye or the ear for picking out a hit. But thank God Holland Dozier Holland did.
That's great. Do you have any moments from the road then when you guys were touring? Because I imagine your fans would go nuts when they would see you, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any fun stories about that? Any encounters?
Funny stories about it? Gee, let's get off the top. Let me see. Well, you know, the one thing that I always get a kick out of is when we sing "Stop in the Name of Love." Everybody in the audience knows the choreography,
the actions,
the hand movement, like
right.
You're putting your hand out. Stop in the name of love. Before you break my heart, I did a show last weekend, and they were all doing their own choreography, and they did the whole hand movement. It was so funny. And these were not young kids; these were children of my age in the 70s. So it was very funny.
But you know what? I mean, that's really quite a testament, though, to your music, because I know, I mean, I'm 31, and I've got cousins who are in their 20s, and when we have, like, at a family wedding or whatever it is, there's some of your songs that, yeah, people are knowing it. So really, the generations have embraced your music.
And you know, that's a testament to Motown Records in terms of putting out those great songs that have lasted all these years.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And you know what? Like they say, they don't make music like they used to, right?
Well, we can say that, but I'm sure the younger generation, you know, they argue about that. But anyway, there you go.
But you know what, though?
The one thing about Motown music, they said it was the sound of young America. So that's pretty cool. I think every generation has its own music that they love, and it just stays with them all of their lives. But one thing about the 60s is that it has had a longevity that's kind of like just great.
And I think it's one of those things, though, where, you know what, music editing has always been around, but there's way different types of editing now where it's not even necessarily the sound of your voice, right? It's computerized. Whereas back in the day, a lot of that's raw talent, though, right?
Well, yeah, you know, because we didn't have the technology that's
right
out there today, so it definitely was what you heard was what you get, you know? and that, in many cases, it's great because there's no tampering with it.
But that's what kind of makes me think, though, and go, you know what, music was more legitimate and more from the heart and not so computerized. Maybe that's where people are relating to those old songs, and you're saying that, you know, that people still love today because they were just that genuine, raw talent that the artists had.
Exactly. You know, and so there's a lot about the natural, organic sound. It really feels, to me, it feels great.
For sure. And so, again, the website address, marywilson.com. And, well, congratulations on your success. I mean, I can't say it enough. It's incredible, you know, the amount of time that you've had in the industry. And we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for chatting today.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'm so happy that people are still listening to it. Yeah.
Oh, how could we not? Mary Wilson, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. My thanks to Rhonda Vincent. Again, congratulations on the Grand Ole Opry induction. That is such a huge deal. And my colleague Tim is telling me we are 10 minutes heavy, and he's 10 pounds heavy. My thanks to Rhonda Vincent. And R.I.P. Mary Wilson, a true music legend, will absolutely be missed. And thanks so much for joining me on the radio all those many years ago. It's interesting. I know we've got to wrap this up. I always find it fascinating when you have these music legends who are genuinely happy that you're interested in talking to them. She was one of those people. As you heard in the segment, I'm trying to give it the wrap up and give her the heave ho, and she's like, we're going to talk about this? Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course. How do you say no to that? So anyway, my thanks to Mary Wilson back in the day for giving me the time of day. It really does mean a lot when you have these interactions with people. Give me just a couple more seconds here, because it ties into what Rhonda was talking about in her segment, where these people are now your peers, people that you looked up to. And I'm certainly not going to say that Mary Wilson was a peer of mine, but Rhonda mentioned somebody like Dolly Parton. And I've talked about that on the show here, where it's interesting when you're a kid and you're listening to their music, or you hear their music and you know these celebrities, right? This is long before social media. And I never thought when I got into broadcasting that, hey, I'm going to be hanging out in Kenny Rogers' dressing room, interviewing him before his concert. He's making time for me. Like, that's a big deal. And so again, now you could say that he was, late in his career and he's just happy for any sort of publicity to get. This was a sold out concert. It's not like he was playing some smoky club for, 30 people. I mean, yes, it was a casino, but I don't take that for granted at all. I mean, he's still the Kenny Rogers, right? I mean, this is a big deal. You're invited to his dressing room? I mean, so to me, it was just a huge honor. So I understand where Rhonda's talking about. These people are suddenly now not just a face on a screen or a voice on the radio. They're actually a human being that I've got you in my phone now. Like, I can text you. Kenny wasn't a texter, but and so it's just crazy. This biz of showbiz, get it? This biz of show. All right, I'm going to wrap up now because we are 42 minutes into the show. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Email me anytime, live at jbonair.com. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real